Hey guys, just a couple of quick tips in Photoshop, some shortcuts that I've found really handy. If you're using the lasso tool, if you have a selection, and you press Ctrl H, that will hide your selection without actually removing the selection. So that can be super handy when you're working. Like I've found quite often the marching ants and the selection can get in the way of what I'm trying to see, especially if I've got a softened edge. Like if I go 2 pixel blur on this, and if I'm trying to work to match this shadow, and let's say I'm painting on top of it, and I'm painting in here, and I want to see exactly where it is, hiding that selection helps to be able to see what's how your edge looks. So you can see here, like, you know, it's going over a bit or whatever. So that's super handy. Pressing Ctrl H again will bring back your selection. And again, with the with any tool, like the lasso tool for instance is an example, if you hold shift and press L, it'll cycle through the shortcuts, and it's the same with anything else, that any other shortcuts like the brush tool, you press B a few times while holding shift and it will cycle through the subtools. If you're using the lasso tool, you can also hold Alt. So say I'm in this polygon mode, and if I hold the Alt key down, or I think it's Command on Macs, it'll change to the freeform lasso, and then if you let go of Alt, it switches back. So that's super handy if you're working with organic selections mixed with straight edges. Hold Alt, you can trace things. It does lag a little bit sometimes, but you know, it's better than not having it. So yeah, that's another super handy switcher. Another thing with the shortcuts is if you are using a tool like the brush tool, and you want to switch to the eraser, for instance, and erase out, you can, instead of clicking E to switch to the eraser, if you just hold down the E key, it will switch to the eraser, and then as soon as you let go of the E key, you're back to the normal brush tool. And the same goes if you want to change your brush size, which you can change by Alt and right click. I'm using a Wacom, so that's not, I believe it's the same on a mouse, and or Command and right click. And right to left is the brush size, up and down is the brush hardness. And if you have a brush and you switch to the eraser, you can also, by holding E, you can also hold Alt and then right click and change your brush size, do your erasing, let go, and you should be back to the brush mode. Yeah, there you go. And with on the topic of selections, something that is often overlooked is the paths tool. This isn't a great image to feature, but if you're dealing with vehicles or really smooth, organic, flowing objects, using the pen tool from the paths to create a path, you know, this allows you to create like really nice, smooth selection curves. And if we then close this and right click on the path, you can just go straight to make selection, and you can feather it, choose whether you want it anti-aliased or whatever, and it will create a selection for you. So often I find that, like, in work, I'm either working with an image that has a lot of this sort of stuff, as an example, on Power Rangers, we had super organic, flowing, alien style sci-fi stuff. So I was using this a lot to creating paths, and you can also save them for later use, which is handy. It's like saving a selection, but you can do other things with them, like stroking a path, where you can create a stroke along a path. I'll just show you that really quickly now. So like this, and if we right click this and go stroke path, you can stroke it with the brush, and this will take the brush size that you have currently set, so this is going to be huge. But if I change my brush size to small and then go back to the pen tool, right click, stroke path, brush again, stroke, it's going to simulate that. So that's super handy as well. So the last thing I wanted to show you is the smoothing tools in with brushes. So the latest version of Photoshop, they improved the smoothing tool a lot, but it's sort of annoying at the same time now. So this allows you to just smooth your strokes. Again, this is something that's super useful for concept artists and creating organic flowing shapes that you don't want the sort of hand jitter. I mean, I'm really terrible if I try and create a circle, for instance. The other mode is pull string mode. This is a little bit different, where any stroke inside this pink circle out around my brush it's not going to affect anything. It's not going to move the brush. But as soon as I move outside of that circle, it's going to pull the brush around. And as you change the smoothing size, that will change the size of the circle of that bounding box circle. So just if you're finding you're trying to work in like little areas like this, like if it's really finicky work, you want to just check your smoothing. Even without pull string mode on, you can be trying to trace something like this, and it starts to smooth out areas that you don't want. So you want to set that off, and that's it.